With the recent rise in popularity of MX bikes bringing in new players from all disciplines, whether that be motocross, enduro, supermoto, freestyle, or even the wheelie guys, it's safe to say that a large majority of players will be unaware of some of the fundamental mistakes they make on a daily basis that once eliminated can greatly increase both your speed and enjoyment in the game. From tucking the front end to feeling like you're landing on a pogo stick and bouncing back up into orbit, I've put together some easy to implement techniques to drop your lap times and hopefully give you bragging rights over your friends. So if you're looking to go from this to this,
125, smoking everyone out here.
then look no further because here are 5 tips to help you go faster in MX bikes. I'm going to start off with one that has had the biggest impact on both my speed and confidence in the game, and that's how you land jumps. In an ideal world, you'll land both wheels at the same time with no problem and ride away as if nothing happened. Well, unfortunately, this is MX bikes, so unless you're perfectly downsiding a jump, that doesn't apply here. Anytime you're launching a single, coming up slightly short, or over jumping a jump, landing back wheel first while leaning forwards is 100% the way to go. Normally, when over jumping or landing flat, if you're to land with both wheels at the same time, or God forbid, front wheel first, there's a very slim chance you'll survive. Your front wheel will tuck, or you'll fall victim to the dreaded Poboso bounce, which makes you feel like you've landed on a trampoline and will send you back up into orbit. Landing back wheel first and leaning forwards almost always eliminates this problem. Pair it with landing in a dead straight line as well, and you can make over jumps like this completely viable, and majority of the time faster than checking up. Before getting into tip number 2, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Raid Shadow. Yeah, right, as if. On to number 2. The next mistake that a lot of people overlook, as it's such a minute detail, but can certainly shave tenths off of your lap times, is the timing of when you change gear. Every time you change gear in MX bikes, your rider gets off the gas for half a second or so. On the surface, that probably doesn't seem like much, but when you take into account the amount of times you change gear a lap, then it definitely starts to add up. Try to limit your shifting as much as possible. The best way I've found in doing this is running a slightly longer gearing and limiting shifting to when you're in the air or under braking. Sometimes starting a section in a higher gear can be faster overall, as you're constantly accelerating instead of having to get off the gas and then back on it again after you've shifted. Another important thing when considering shifting is whether you run shift help on or off. I personally have it on. This is just so I don't have to manually get off of the gas, change gear, and then get on it again. The game will do it for you as soon as you press the shift button. It may seem counterproductive, but everyone at least once can be held guilty for trying to go too fast than their abilities allow them to. Blown over ruts, tucking your front end in corners, and sliding out on the face of jumps straight out of a turn, all of these are from trying to go too fast. One of my favourite real life riders, Ryan Hughes, is a big advocate for the slow in, fast out approach, and this translates over to bikes just as much as it does in real life. Getting on the brakes a half a second to a second earlier, spotting your line, and once your bike's settled and in the corner, then start getting on the gas again and firing out the next straight is much more productive than trying to slide it in at the last second, going over the rut and dying. The time you might lose on the way into the corner is instantly gained back by either not crashing or the extra speed that you get along the straight afterwards. Now, some of you MX Simulator players might remember this one as the number 1 rule from Sim, and it applies in MX bikes too, more so in Supercross than anything else, but that is to not grab your front brake whilst in the air. I've been there. You're trying to clear a triple in a rhythm section and want to dip the front end to get as much distance as possible, so you grab the brakes hoping to do so. The issue is that grabbing the front brake will cause your front wheel to lock up and become much more unstable. This stops you being able to move the bike about in the air as much and turning your jump into a complete dead sailor. It will also cause the front end to tuck when landing if you don't downside the jump completely perfect. If you are grabbing the brakes to dip the front end, make sure you use the rear brake only. I myself have one button for combined brakes and then one button just dedicated to the back brake by itself. If you don't feel the bike dipping as much as you'd like it to from just the back brake, try leaning forwards and then letting go of lean forwards at exactly the same time as hitting your back brake. I find this makes the front end dip down a lot more than the back brake by itself. And finally, one that ties into tip 3 about going too fast is progressive braking. When you're driving a car, you don't slam on the brakes every time you want to slow down. You ease it on, and then the slower you're going, the more you push down. This is called progressive braking. If you come into a turn and slam on the brakes, you're much more likely to start sliding and miss your turning point or rut, or you could just completely swap out and crash altogether. Try being more progressive with the brakes and tie it into tip 3. Start with braking half, and then as your speed decreases, you can brake harder and harder, and you're less likely to lock up. Those are 5 easy to implement techniques that will both increase your speed and consistency in MX bikes. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. If you could take 2 seconds out of your day to like, subscribe, and even leave me some feedback, it would mean the world to me. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.